Hello, everyone, and welcome to Autumn Triduum, Our Lady of Sorrows. We are playing the in development game Autumn Triduum. We are members of the Gauntlet community. You can find out more about the Gauntlet at gauntlet-rpg.com. There are so many games going up there, hundreds per month, and they are all free and open to join if you're so inclined. Autumn Triduum is a game in development from Cloven Pine Games and me, Alexi Sargent. If you're interested in this game about darkness, sisterhood, and faith, a game of religious sisters fighting against the forces of spiritual evil as their convent is threatened during the Hallowmass season from All Hallows Eve to All Souls Day, you can find out more about Autumn Triduum and be the first to know if it's published or goes to Kickstarter by signing up at bit.ly/Autumn Triduum list. That's a capital A for Autumn, a capital T for Triduum, and a capital L for list. And if you check out the notes under this video, you'll see those links as well. Let's meet our players for this evening. I'll start by introducing myself. I'm Alexi. My pronouns are he, him, and I am the designer of this game and very excited to be running it on the Gauntlet tonight. I think there aren't enough games about telling stories about faith, and particularly about religious sisters who are fascinating people. I'll ask my players to introduce themselves in character keeper order, starting by just introducing yourself as a player with your name, pronouns if you would, and why you're here playing the game this evening, and then we'll go back around and have you introduce your characters to give people a sense of who you are. So let's start out with Claire.
Hi, my name is Claire. My pronouns are she, her. And I am here because I am a Catholic who likes to play games and have a friend who is making vows as an actual nun next month.
Okay, I'm Steven. My pronouns are he, him. I am not religious, but I'm here because I find different sorts of people to be interesting, and I think it's interesting to play role-playing games that put you in the shoes of different communities, different types of people.
Nice.
Probably
Pearl,
me
you're
then,
up.
too. I'm Pearl. I use she and her pronouns. And I was drawn to this game for actually a bunch of reasons. One is that I enjoy having Alexi as a GM or a novice miss. Oh, bother. I've already messed it up, haven't I?
That's all right. It's novice mistress in this game.
Novice mistress, that's right. And I've played many games with Steven, who is also excellent. And I'm excited that in this case, we have changed our normal roles in which he is the sort of stern something, and I am not at all. And I'm very excited because he always plays excellently. And it's my first game with Claire, which is very exciting. But mainly, I just really like to tell stories collaboratively with other people very, very much. And games like this that are like stories outside the norm, right? Like, we're not knights on a quest. We're not, like, this is such an interesting concept. I'm really excited to play it and see where it takes us.
Fantastic. Let's loop back around to Claire. And Claire, will you introduce us to your sister, your character for this evening?
Sure. So I am playing Sister Pauline. I am in the Widow Missalette. So my before I was a sister, my husband Troy was a quarterback in the NFL, what they call a journeyman quarterback, who like played for several teams, which was kind of nice because it means that we had, plenty of income, but not super famous, and also like moved around a bunch. The travel was nice, the the food and whatnot, but we really like we had all this income. This was great. We spent much of it on charitable donations, like a lot of charity galas and you know funding worthy causes and whatnot. This was really a shared passion of ours. Um, After he passed in an untimely car crash, I went to live with my sister, where really her kids did a lot to help get me over the grief. Just like their pureness and simplicity, of like their love for me, and their faith in God really kind of pulled me through some dark times. Um, I knew that I didn't want to get married again. Like Troy was, I really loved Troy, and I didn't want you know, to move on to find somebody else. Um, and I've seen that life lived. I have a friend who, her husband also passed a couple years ago, and she's kind of doing the single rich widow thing, and she's doing it pretty well. She seems happy, but it's not what I want. So I came here to the Convent of Our Lady of Sorrows. And yeah, I'm I guess possibly the last thing I really need to touch base on here is I'm certain that I've seen the devil active in the world, in like those like type of workaholics that just, it's almost like they can't stop and take time for like to rest or to be with their loved ones. And they can't spare the time, they can't spare the money, they just have to do, they can't just be. That's demonic.
Thank you very much. Wonderful to meet Sister Pauline. Let's meet Sister Catherine next.
Yeah, Sister Catherine is a novice. She has not yet taken final vows. She was a journalism student before entering the convent, and her editor, Bob Harper, he assigned her to the courtroom beat because that's where all great journalists should start. You learn more about life by covering the courtroom beat than you do any other assignment. And Sister Catherine, it's just, she just sort of lost spirit as she approached graduation. Her work was starting to feel meaningless, like she wasn't doing any good as a journalist. And there was a sister from the order, Sister Martha, who worked a lot with prisoners, and Catherine was just sort of drawn to this community of sisters, and she decided to enter the convent after graduating. I mean, Bob Harper, he thinks this is a crazy this is a crazy decision. I mean, you can do so much more good as a journalist than you can do with one-on-one ministry. But he's like holding a job open for me when I realize when I realize what my true calling is. And I'm certain that I've seen the devil active in the world in some of the people I saw in the courtroom. I mean, most of them, it's just your regular tale of human frailty, but there were some of them who are definitely touched by the devil. Either they were cruel for no reason, or they knew that they were doing self-destructive things, but they couldn't resist temptation. It was like the devil was dragging them under. So
Chilling.
yeah.
Let's thank you very much. It's good to meet Sister Catherine, and I'm in suspense about whether she'll take final vows. Let's meet the last player character this evening, Sister Mary Lazarus.
Hello, I'm Pearlie, she, her pronouns. I'm going to let Sister Mary Lazarus introduce herself. She has strong opinions, so I wouldn't want to get in the way. Okay. Hello there. I see you've come to the convent, Our Lady of Sorrows. I'm sure you know that we belong to the venerable and honorable order, serve the sacred mystic Lamb of God, where I have been a nun for many, many years now, ever since I left the orphanage where I was raised, the Blood of the Cross orphanage. I thought that was a really particularly lovely and welcoming name for children. And Father Lonergan, the head priest there, taught me all I know about God and all I need to. You know, the young ones these days, they're all kinds of newfangled things. They don't know. The word is in the books. And that's why I man the library here. We have a collection of very old and rare illuminated manuscripts dating back centuries that have to be painstakingly maintained by hand, not with any of those newfangled machines. So I'm in charge of that to make sure that nobody messes it up. But I joined the convent because it was just the logical thing to do after, Father Lonergan gave me such excellent training at the orphanage. And given my deep and profound, complete faith and love of the Lord, there was really no other way that I could have gone into this calling. Although I will say that since I've gotten here, I just feel like the world is creeping in on us. We should be here working, maintaining the books, planting in the garden, and praying on our knees, and nothing else. But nowadays, let me tell you, there's this new priest in training, Father Danzas, and I don't approve of him at all. In fact, I've got my eyes on him because, before he got here, I thought we were at least mostly walking the path as you do. But Father Walker, who always kept the flock in line, he's just getting a bit on, and I think he's a bit impressionable. And this Father Duns, you wouldn't believe what he has. He has the nuns listening to secular music, the hip hop, rapid rock. I am watching him, and I think he's been watching the sisters. When other people talk about seeing the devil in the world, they're talking about just people who are bad. Most people are bad. Haven't you read the Bible? But Father Danzas, he's doing the devil's work, and I've got my eye on him. Luckily, I have this rosary here that was given to me by Father Lonergan before I left the orphanage. It's a treasured relic, and even Father Lonergan couldn't give me the true heritage of this, but I know that it must be protected at all costs, and that when I use it, God uses me as his right hand to do good works in the world. If you ask me, this convent needs more discipline, more rosaries, and less mischief.
Very nice to meet Sister Mary Lazarus. Thank you. Glad she's here keeping a weather eye on things. So we hinted at this already. Our convent is Our Lady of Sorrows. The order that our sisters are part of is the Servants of the Sacred Mystic Lamb of God, or more colloquially and commonly, the Servants of the Lamb. And
don't get me started, young man.
And the work that these nuns do, their charism, includes both the restoring of illuminated manuscripts and now more causes in service of social justice, such as feeding the hungry in a soup kitchen, making helpful visits to the homebound of the city. And our game begins in autumn, on All Hallows Eve, in fact. The leaves are turning to gold and burnt umber wherever trees peek through the distinguished but somewhat dirty brownstones of this smaller city. Some might even call it a suburb, but nestled among both the glory of nature and the work of man, glorious or not. There is this one old stone building, the convent of Our Lady of Sorrows, adjoining a church, and coming out from that convent en route to visit one of the homebound people of the city that have come to rely on these sisters for some help. I think we see Sister Catherine and Sister Pauline making their way from the convent en route to, well, Sister Catherine, who is your favorite of the homebound people whom you charitably visit?
I'd say my favorite is Miss Walker. She's this old black woman. She actually she actually has lost both of her feet to diabetes, but she's always cheerful.
Mm-hmm. Where does she live?
She lives. She's got a house in the White Oaks neighborhood. It's been in her family for like 50 years.
Gotcha. So when you're approaching it, you can see that there's some parts of the house that are just in disrepair because maintaining that kind of property is very difficult for Miss Walker at this point. And since it's Halloween and we're beginning our game, let me, as the rules stipulate, add one to the Treasury of Merit, because at the beginning of each day of this game, All Hallows Eve, All Saints Day, and All Souls Day, I add one to our treasury. So there you go. You have that for spending if that comes up. Sister Pauline, tell me what you notice, in this neighborhood that kind of shows that people have kind of put a little effort into decorating for Halloween, but probably they have more important things on their mind. Like, what are the kind of small concessions they've made to the season that you sweep past in your habit?
There's a lot of that, like that like white-ish like it's not really gauze, but it's like, I don't know, the stuff that people use to simulate spider webs.
Yeah.
There's
cobwebs.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, like on all the bushes and like hanging between stuff, and like maybe the odd spider here and there, but that's kind of it.
I hear you. Let's say you reach this door. You usually visit Miss Walker. You help her out with little tasks around the house. Maybe even go on a grocery run for her, right? But when you get to the door, it's kind of hanging open, which is unexpected. But also you don't see any lights or hear any noises from inside. Sister Catherine, what do you do?
I'm going to And I'm going to carefully check out the house, because see what's happening, and if Miss Walker is in there.
Yeah, leaning on your kind of journalistic instincts from your
Yeah,
pre-novice days, even.
exactly.
I'd love you to roll a discern situations or spirits. So that's roll 2d6 plus your charity.
All right. That's an 8.
Nice. Then I think you get to ask a question from the discern list, and you'll take a +1 forward to rolls that rely on that answer.
What happened here recently?
Yeah, very, very legitimate. Does Miss Walker use a wheelchair to get around in the house and outside on occasion, though pretty rarely for her?
Yeah, I think not exactly a wheelchair. It's like she's got this office chair with wheels.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah, you kind of, you're like looking around a bit, and you see kind of unceremoniously dumped next to the porch of the house in kind of the small, mostly weed overgrown yard area. You see that office chair. It's lying there, and like one of the wheels is still sort of like swaying gently. Like there's still a little bit of momentum from whatever was the last kind of push it was given. But Miss Walker herself is nowhere to be seen. You certainly fear foul play here, though. Having seen her kind of main method of mobility just sort of discarded there next to the house. What do you do?
Yeah, I'm going to look for tracks or anything. I'm going to try to see if I can get any indication of where she was taken, because I don't think she could have left the property on her own, not without a great deal of effort. And it's obviously she's been abducted or something.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we will pick this up in a moment, but kind of call that seeing these two nuns arrive and then like stare at a door swinging before seeing a disturbing bit of evidence dumped in the lawn next to them. Call that our cold open, because I realize we should do sisterly bonds and find out the relationships among our sisters. Claire, Sister Pauline, let's begin with you. You have two sisterly bonds to point at your fellow player characters. Do you want to assign those out? Like, what do you have, and who do you think they might apply to?
Yeah.
Read them for us, if you would, to start us off.
I think I can read them with the names.
Okay.
Praying with Sister Catherine for your husband's soul comforts you.
Okay.
And Sister Mary Lazarus treats you coldly. Do they envy your former wealth?
Huh.
I don't think she envies my former wealth. I think she thinks I'm a crazy liberal.
That's Sister Pauline's opinion. She's kind of dismissed the wealth hypothesis and just thinks that there's a ideological chasm between her and Sister Mary Lazarus.
Yeah, just that like my priorities are stupid.
Should I weigh in on that, or are we just leaving it as her impressions?
I think that's it's her impressions, but you can certainly tell us what Sister Mary Lazarus thinks, because not everything that we the players know will be what our characters know also. So yeah, please.
Mary Lazarus doesn't care about politics. She's not even aware of politics. So she doesn't care if you're liberal or not at all. What she thinks is that you're undisciplined, unschooled in the ways of the church, that you came to it because you didn't know what to do after your life changed and not because you have a life calling. and that you don't spend nearly enough time in the library.
Sister Mary Lazarus, straight shooter. Talk to me about praying with Sister Catherine. When did that happen, and how was it comforting to you?
I think it kind of came up unexpectedly one day.
Mhm.
I was just kind of like, just kind of having an off day, and some story she told reminded me of him. And so after after we were no longer with the other sisters, I kind of thanked her for that, and she prayed with me for Troy's soul, and I appreciated that.
Yeah. How does that sound, Sister Catherine?
Sure. Sounds good.
Then let's move on to Sister Catherine. Talk to me about your sisterly bonds.
I want to live up to Sister Pauline's example as a woman of God.
And what do you admire specifically there?
It's her selflessness, I think. It's like she really wants to do things for others. It's not like she feels like she should do things for others. It's that it's what she wants to be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And your other one?
I worry that Sister Mary Lazarus thinks that I'm not cut out for religious life.
And why would you worry that?
I don't know. Yeah. It's just she just thinks that I'm frivolous and not serious. It's she thinks that this is some sort of a childish fad that I'm doing, and I'll probably go off to a commune and wear tie-dye next week or something. I don't think she trusts my commitment.
I think I kind of want to move right on to Sister Mary Lazarus's sisterly bonds, because I feel like what they are sort of answers the question of how accurate Sister Catherine's assessment is. I don't know. Sister Mary Lazarus, are you up to jump right in there?
Of course I am. I'm always prepared. Actually, I think that Sister Catherine, she's young enough yet. She could become a saint with my careful guidance. I don't know why she seems to look to Sister Pauline. Sister Pauline's barely been on it all. She doesn't know the ways. When she I crossed myself before I even say it, calls the order the servants of the Lamb or some such. She doesn't even put God in the name. I mean, it's obscene. It's upsetting. But if I could get Sister Catherine to just pay attention to what matters, and that's the word of the Lord and watching out for the devil, I think she could be a saint.
Inspiring. What's the sort of seed of saintliness you see in Sister Catherine? Just to check, like what do you see that with your guidance could become something really heroic in the service of God?
Well, she came in, I think, for the right reasons for the most part. She's young enough that she still has room to learn and be molded by those of us who understand the ways of the Lord. And she saw evil in the world, and she decided to come here to fight it. And I don't see any better way to do that than to come join the convent here at Our Lady of Sorrows and the Servants of the Sacred Mystic Lamb of God. So, I just think at least the beginnings are there. And I'm a very good teacher if you pay attention.
I'm sure. I'm sure Sister Mary Lazarus is. Great. Any more questions about those sisterly bonds, or do we feel like we've established the relationships among these women?
I have one more. I don't know if you want me to assign it to anyone.
Yeah, please do. I think I can tell who you're going to assign it to.
Yes. Sister Pauline. First of all, what kind of good Christian name is Sister Pauline? Is that a saint? What is that? But anyway, she is too susceptible to modern fads and needs correction. You know, she was married to a football player, an athlete.
Yeah, that's
Athletes
true.
do not tend to be men of God. You hear about them. I don't watch television or the news, but you hear anyways. You know, scandals and all kinds of things, adulterers and violent men.
Mm-hmm.
And then she just turns up here. But I'm not convinced that she has the calling, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of suspect that Sister Mary Lazarus will have heard of St. Paul.
Yeah, but Pauline is like, why not like Mary Paul? You know?
Sister Mary Lazarus approves of, sisters taking just male religious names as is and not appending suffixes to them.
I can only
Pauline is not in the Bible. Paul is in the Bible.
I can only imagine the fit Sister Mary Lazarus through the first time somebody tried to call her Sister Lazarus.
Why would anyone do that? That's not my name.
Great. Yeah. Let's say that our little title sequence where we kind of saw the scenes establishing these relationships in montage. Let's say that has concluded, right? It was sepia toned or something, but now a little more color leaches back in, particularly those reds and oranges of the leaves overhead and underfoot. As I'd say, Sister Catherine, you're approaching this fallen chair to discover more about what's become of Miss Walker.
Right. Like, are there any tracks on the ground? Can I tell?
Yeah, it looks like it looks like there's some tracks on the ground, but as you approach, a gaggle of youngsters in Halloween costumes seems to take notice both of the sisters here and of the chair fallen over. So as two of them have kind of come up to you. One's wearing a classic sheet ghost costume, and the other one's got a little bright red suit with little devil horns and a plastic pitchfork. And one of them's like, "Cool costume, lady." Well, the other one is seems to be going over to mess with the chair, and their sheet ghost sheet is dragging on the ground, dragging leaves, certainly causing problems for any sort of tracks you were trying to pick up here. Sister Catherine, what do you do?
Yeah, well, I'm going to block them from touching the chair because that's evidence.
Yeah. How do you do it? What do we see?
I step between them and the chair, and I tell them, no, please move back, get onto the pavements, please stay off the lawn. And I'm sorry, Miss Walker isn't giving out candy today.
Sounds like you're trying to instruct someone. I'd like you to roll plus faith. It looks like the leverage you're relying on here is just that you are a grown-up, and they are trick-or-treaters.
Yeah, and that is a 10.
Nice. The kids step back. Honestly, the one in the ghost sheet just steps back so fast that she trips over her ghost sheet, and you hear a little squeal as she falls to the ground. But yeah, the kids are definitely like, stepping back, and you hear them kind of like muttering amongst themselves, what's her deal? Sister Pauline, you see all this. You see, your sister Catherine, clearly upset by what's going on, and giving instructions to these kids, trying to control this scene. What do you do? The door of the house is still sort of hanging ajar here. And as Sister Catherine said, you don't see any kind of candy put out for the youngsters.
I think I will also discern situations or spirits.
How and what does that look like? Firstly, what is Sister Pauline doing, and kind of tell me a little like what we see, and what our sense is of her kind of her intentions and her hopes here.
Yeah. Okay. So I tell Sister Catherine, I'm gonna go inside and see if I can find anything. So I head towards the front door. If there's anything obvious to pick up on the way that's, vaguely bat-like, I'll grab it.
I see. You're hoping to arm yourself?
I mean, clearly I'm not really expecting to run into somebody, but like, just in case.
The one bit of Halloween decoration is like a single like sad plastic bat, like a flapping flying mammal bat.
That is not the kind of bat I meant, and you know it.
I mean, it's the most solid looking object on the porch.
All right. I think I will not grab that on my way in. I think if I need anything, it will have to be my fists.
All right, Sister Pauline.
To the house,
slightly ready to, somewhat ready to throw a haymaker, passing up the perfectly good plastic bat that was there on the porch. Enters Miss Walker's house. Yeah, it's dark. It's relatively dusty since it's been a week, I'd say, since you had time to come and visit her, and it seems like the poor lady doesn't get many other visitors to help out around the place. You're kind of just like creeping around in your habit, examining the vicinity, the house.
I mean, creeping feels like the wrong word. I'm just walking in. Like I've been here before. I know the place. I would recognize if anything was like, I would easily recognize if anything was dramatically out of place. Like, looking around to see what I can see.
Yeah, nothing looks dramatically out of place at first, but roll discern situations or spirits to see if you get a glimpse below the surface here.
7.
Nice. You get one of these questions.
What's going on under the surface? Not literally.
Yeah, good question. What sort of skills or intuition is Sister Pauline bringing to bear to find this answer?
I don't know. I mean, it seems like something's gone wrong. Like,
yeah.
She doesn't really have experience with kidnapping before. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, she managed the household for Troy. She like saw and learned lots of things as they traveled various places.
Yeah, and you're a bookkeeper at the convent too. I kind of want to say that maybe if you and Sister Catherine have visited Miss Walker with some regularity before, you've kind of even seen what she does when she wants to give a give a tip to a delivery person, right, who's gone out of their way to bring something to her or something like that. So you know that kind of hidden in a little kind of false drawer, hidden under the false bottom of a drawer in the kind of sitting room area is her little kind of tiny kind of strong box of savings, right? And you looking around, wondering, was this a robbery or something? I'll say you kind of slide open that drawer to kind of to lift up the false bottom, kind of the like pencils and old lady sweets kind of roll to the back of the drawer, and underneath you see the strong box, and it hasn't been opened, but there's something there on top of it waiting for you as you open up that drawer, and it's just a newspaper clipping, like a kind of a old yellowing piece of newspaper that's just kind of been pressed flat by being under the false bottom of this drawer, but it's been like carefully placed there. What do you do, Sister Catherine?
I mean, I like skim the headline and whatnot immediately, but I will bring it out to Sister Catherine.
Yeah. The headline is something like All Hallows Killer Caught at Last, and the date is 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's not terrifying at all. Okay.
Right. Well, I'm going to reach out to somebody I know outside the convent for help. I'm going to call a police inspector that I know from my time as a journalist.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. First, like, just real quick, give me the scene where Sister Catherine comes out, bearing this piece of evidence, and sorry, Sister Pauline comes out with this piece of evidence to Sister Catherine.
Sorry, writing down the article title.
Yeah.
Okay, so I, come outside. Sister Catherine?
Yes, it's Sister Pauline.
Come here. I've found something distressing.
Right, and I come up to the porch, but I'm keeping an eye on the crime scene.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. So
the kids are staying well back from it because you kind of gotten their faces and instructed them firmly before this.
Yeah.
So I explain like the context of where this came from, and and it looked very obviously like placed there waiting to be found.
Yeah.
I, like, pass it so we could read it together.
Yeah, I take a look, and it's like, yeah. I mean, I'm sure I can find out more about this, but I think it's time to call in the police. There's an officer I know, so
the kid with the devil horns and the little plastic pitchfork is like, is Miss Walker dead or something? Like, what's going on?
it's like, I think she's been kidnapped.
What? And like I think like the kid like first like turns to his buddies, and then like one of them is like kind of like runs down the block, and like you hear like shouts coming down the block being like, Miss Walker's been kidnapped. Miss Walker's been kidnapped.
Yeah, just we'll the police will get to the bottom of it. Just try not to panic and pray. They'll get her back.
Are you comforting the afflicted?
Yes. Am I at a minus for that? No, I'm at a plus for that. All right.
Yeah. Tell me one more thing about Sister Pauline's approach to these, slightly panicking, slightly just like caught up in the excitement of a kidnapping children.
I don't know. I'm just like walking towards them and
you're good with kids. You've got those nieces and nephews.
Yeah. Maybe if some of them are like, a couple of them are like, look like they, I don't know, like I think I place myself in such a way that like, if they want to come over for a hug for comfort, I'm like right there and they can kind of just like reach in for like a little bit of reassurance.
One of them is a small black boy who's wearing like a bulky football player Halloween costume, like with those like pads that make you look more muscular, and like he's like kind of like lip is like visibly trembling, in this circumstance, and he takes a hesitating step towards you as you're kind of making yourself available to try to comfort these kids who've just had a weird thing happen. Go ahead and roll that comfort the afflicted.
So that is a 13.
Wow. Yeah, that's a super hit on comforting the afflicted. So like the kid looks around, decides he doesn't care about being cool, and just like hugs the nun, as like the other kids kind of like crowd round a little bit, and you can see them kind of just like deriving a little bit of stability from your reassuring presence. You on the hit like that can clear tribulation yourself, or add 1 to the treasury of merit.
Well, I have no tribulation, so I'll add to the treasury.
Yeah, we gotta get some tribulation up in here. Here's some. I've added something to the treasury of merit. It's these little yellow tokens that I'm putting inside the crown of thorns for you in the roll for your party.
Nice. I do want to note for color that I definitely address the kid by the name of the football player whose jersey he's like wearing. I definitely know that and make it a point to do that.
Beautiful. Sorry, Sister Catherine, you had a plan to reach out to someone. Can you just give me a sense of how she wants to do that? Is it something where she thinks she could just call them up, or do we need to set a scene?
Absolutely. She's going to pull out her cell phone, and she's still got like Inspector Flanagan is on her contacts.
Yeah.
So she's gonna call him directly. She's not going to call 911 or anything.
What's Sister Catherine's given name outside of religious life? Is it also Catherine, or did she did she have a different name before the convent?
Yeah, I think it was already Catherine, unless there's some. I don't know enough about Catholic practice to know if that would be likely to change, but yeah,
it can happen. I mean,
right.
You're also only the novice, so
right.
Yeah. So like the on the other side of the line, you hear Katie, Bob was saying you were off the beat. What do I owe the pleasure?
I was making a visit to one of my parishioners, and her wheelchair is out on the front lawn. It's tipped on its side. We can't find her anywhere. I'm coming to you directly, Charles, because I mean you know the precinct is not going to hurry on something, but I got a bad feeling about this. I think she could be in real trouble.
We've got a lot on our plate cleaning up after mischief night, but you're right, that does sound a mite suspicious. I I'd like you to roll for worldly wisdom.
Yeah, and I got a 10.
Oh, nice.
Right. So I mean I think I'm feeling the pull of non-convent life.
Yeah. 'Cause
This is like
you're like,
I'm just this is my old groove.
right. Your journalist instincts kicked in. You're like back in the swing of things. It feels weird to be wearing a habit while making this call to the inspector.
Right.
Yeah. So there's like a sense of like being pulled in different directions here. That's not fully comfortable though.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, you marked that tribulation, and
Yeah.
that was a 10 plus result there.
Yes.
So he'll definitely be able to help you. But I think I kind of want to cut away for the moment, and when we pick up again, we'll get more of a sense of how Inspector Flanagan is able to be of assistance. I want to go back to Our Lady of Sorrows convent and see Sister Mary Lazarus, because Sister Mary Lazarus, a younger sister. In fact, I'm pretty sure that it's Sister Mary Alma Roberts has done something wrong. They have committed an error, and they are in need of correction. What has Sister Mary Alma Roberts done, and how will you correct her?
Are you sure you don't need more time to cover worldly pursuits that have nothing to do with the church? Well, I suppose I should tell you. Sister Mary Alma Roberts, bless her heart, I do think it's in the right place, but these outbursts of hers, she thinks she's some kind of mystic, you know. We were right in the middle of silent prayers, which I take a half an hour break every hour to do silent prayers while I'm working on the books. Tonight was working on four-edge painting. I'm sure you know what that is. But I was right in the middle of a particularly heartfelt and shame-filled prayer session. And all of a sudden, I hear all kinds of crazy shouting from the next room over, and I went over with Sister Mary Alma Roberts, and she was going on about some, you know how she is, don't you? You know, she said something about a bat, and it was like glittery, but nobody was touching it, and somebody was supposed to touch the bat and didn't, and now what were we going to do? And the work of Satan was... And I don't know what she's on about. There are no bats here. We take very good care of the grounds. Disturbing everybody.
You need to do something about this, don't you, Sister Mary Lazarus?
I do. I need to give her a stern talking to. She's been told before that if she wants to have crazy mystic outbursts, there are times of day when no one would be disturbed. Silent prayer is not one of those times.
Where do you find Sister Mary Alma Roberts?
Unfortunately for me, she has the room right next to mine. That's how I heard her. I was trying to do my silent prayers, and there were all these hollerings coming from the next room.
So do you just like march out of your cell to go over to her right then, or do you kind of file this offense away to deal with at another time? Like
no, I absolutely go right then. How am I supposed to continue a silent prayer while hearing about glittery bats? That's preposterous.
That's beautiful.
I could barely feel shame at all.
I think when you kind of rap on the door to Sister Mary Alma Roberts's cell, she doesn't respond to you. She just continues saying, "Sisters, no! Oh, sweet Jesus, the sisters and the bats!"
I really must speak to Mother Mary Immaculate about this. She is the Mother Superior. I mean, I try to fulfill my duties as the sub prioress, but really, my relationship with the Lord should be more important. But if I must, I must. So I'm going to just go into her room.
You're just gonna, open Sister Mary Alma Roberts's door.
Yes, we don't have locks on the doors here. We're nuns.
Oh, certainly not. When you open the door, a swarm of bats emerges from the cell and like knocks you backwards as they stream out, kind of chittering. Right, you see their beady eyes. I am going to go ahead and say, Sister Mary Lazarus, that you need to take up your cross, because however you feel about bats, this is too many of them in too small of a space, too unexpectedly.
Absolutely, it is.
So take up your
Unacceptable.
cross is a move for when you face your fear, undergo persecution, or otherwise take up your cross. It's not a rolling move. It's a move where you simply choose one. Either you stumble or flinch, giving your opposition an opportunity, mark your mystery track, or you press on despite your mounting dread, mark tribulation. So, Sister Mary Lazarus, do you stumble or do you press on?
I mean, I don't think anybody could but stumble a bit when a bat swarm comes out at them.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I don't press on afterwards. I just needed to catch my footing. So ultimately, does that mean that I press on, or is the initial stumble what you need to mark in your little book?
I think this sounds like you press on, since that's the kind of biggest takeaway from that moment, that Sister Mary Lazarus can have a bat swarm explode out of a cell into her face and still soldier forward because someone needs to be told off.
If anything, I'm more determined than ever. What's she doing with all those bats? You can't have a bat swarm in your room at the nunnery. What nonsense is this?
Yeah. Agreed. Nonsense indeed. So go ahead and mark tribulation, though, just because pushing through the bats and any other emotions you might associate with them does throw your soul into a little bit of turmoil.
I have marked tribulation, although I'll have you know, it takes more than a swarm of bats to knock this nun off her game.
Yeah, you push into the cell, and Sister Mary Alma Roberts is basically she's kind of her lower body is in her seat, but instead of leaning up against the hard wooden back of it, she's kind of leaning right off the seat onto the floor, right? So her head is on the floor of the cell with her kind of veil pooled under it, and her eyes kind of open and staring wildly, and her kind of mouth still moving, but now her utterances have faded down to a inaudible whisper, but she's not looking either proper or comfortable in this position. Sister Mary Lazarus, brushing the last of the bats away from your face as you crest the cell threshold, what do you do?
Well, I think you're right. It's not a proper prayer position at all. We don't pray with our posteriors in the chair and our faces on the floor. I don't know any order that endorses it. Sadly. But before I rebuke her, and I do intend to rebuke her, I think I should probably try to discern something. I mean, even Sister Mary Alma Roberts isn't usually this, well, heatheny. I mean, bats and weird positioning and the shouting we're used to. We're not crazy about it, but it's not uncommon. But the bats, I'm going to have to take some exception with the bats. So I would like to discern a situation or spirit, if possible.
Absolutely. And tell me a little bit how you do that, keeping in mind you have that relic on hand.
Oh, I do. I always have the relic on hand. You never know where Satan's hands are sneaking about. Father Danza's hands, for example. I keep it on me at all times, and it gives me strength, my faith in the Lord.
So I think I should go over to her, and I'm going to take my rose in my hands after crossing my, because I assume you just saw that I did. And I'm going to mutter some prayers in Latin under my breath, so you won't be able to hear them. Cross myself again, and then I'm going to dangle my rosary over my poor afflicted sister.
Got it. So you're specifically trying to discern something about what's going on with her. Roll plus charity, and you get a +1 thanks to your treasured relic.
Which is good because I'm not very charitable. I don't know why people see me that way. I think I have the best of intentions. Wait, what? Are there? Oh, there they are. Sorry, just had to do a bit of scrolling. These newfangled computers. Doubles work. So I suppose I have an 8 because my relic cancels out my negative charity.
Hey, nicely done. You get to ask one question from the set of discern situations questions. Discern situations or spirit.
Well, there are a number of things. I don't think anyone's in great physical or spiritual danger, and I'm certainly not interested in anyone for help. If anyone knows a good nun is self-sufficient. But
Nuns well known for not relying on community. But no, fair enough.
A proper nun knows the ways. She needs nothing but herself and the Lord. And, sometimes the guidance of a priest, I suppose. But when I said that. So I suppose either what happened here recently, or are there any threats we haven't noticed? There's not really a we to this. But I don't know. Novice mistress, do you have any ideas? I'm a bit flustered from the bats. Do you think asking about threats not noticed or what happened here recently would be a... Thank you for joining me in this room, by the way.
Either of those sounds like a question to me, as a way to learn more about the story and push forward what's going on. I think either could work. Particularly, are there any threats we haven't noticed, I guess?
All right. I think that's a good one. I would hate to get, stirred by yet another bat swarm.
Great. Yeah. So you've got your rosary out.
Always
trying to discern what's going on in this cell here. I think your eyes are drawn. Honestly, I think even though her whisper has subsided now, and there's just the tiniest of the kind of strangled moans now coming from Sister Mary Alma Roberts. You see one of her hands kind of just pointing, a kind of a stiff, almost petrified finger up at her desk in the in her cell. And
her desk.
Yeah, looking over at her desk, you see a stack of pages, and it looks like she's kind of scrawled wildly on them in pen. At first it doesn't look like it's anything, right? It looks like it's just kind of random pen marks, right, all over these pages. But when you kind of look closely, right, and rearrange the pages a little bit to kind of like you're putting together a puzzle a touch, you're able to form a picture, and you see a kind of impressionistic drawing in pen of this cloud of bats, right? The whole borders of this picture are these bats, but then kind of within within the cloud, you see what look like prison bars, and kind of like with his hands wrapped around the prison bars, and kind of like a face, full of sorrow. Father Danzus, sketched in loosely but unmistakably, staring out from these prison bars on the pages that Sister Mary Alma Roberts has sketched all over. So I think that the threat, Sister Mary Lazarus might understand it in one way or another, but the threat definitely has to do with Father Danzus, and the imagery of it is these prison bars and this swarm of bats.
I knew it. I knew it all along. Haven't I told you all about Father Danzus? Work of the devil.
Is this Sister Mary Lazarus speaking out loud to the otherwise not very responsive Sister Mary Alma Roberts?
No, to the novice mistress. I already thanked you for coming into the room.
I just to clarify, I think the novice mistress is not literally there.
Dang it! Well, who am I supposed to talk to?
Well,
My grumblings.
You do have a sister with you here.
I do, but she's. I mean, I'll get to her, but I don't think she's really in a conversational place at the moment.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, in any case, I did know it.
Maybe
Father Danzus.
Maybe she needs some help from you first before she's in a conversational place. I don't know. You tell me what you do, Sister Mary Lazarus.
Well, I wanted to rant about Father Danzus for a minute, but I suppose on that. So, first of all, I'm going to confiscate these papers. I'm going to need to show them to Mother Superior.
So you're collecting the papers for the future? Yeah,
I'm going to collect the papers and try to put them in order so that if I laid them out again, they would be easy to make into the picture to show Mother Mary Immaculate.
Yeah.
And then I suppose I'm going to go over to Sister Mary Alma Roberts. And as much as I disapprove of her bats and posturing and drawing, I mean, really, like crude pen drawing, we have like 13th century books with gold gilding on the, like, I think I should help her up. That seems like the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So I'm going to laboriously lean over and kind of haul her upright in the chair.
And
is she responsive?
She's stiff, but she does move as you move her. Like her eyes kind of like remain open but unfocused, and you can hear that kind of low unhappy sound coming from her, but she's not actively trying to keep you from putting her in the chair.
I need to try to draw my nice face.
Did you say you're trying to put on your nice face?
Yes, this is my nice face to try to cheer her. Sister Mary Alma Roberts, can I help you to the bed?
Are you comforting the afflicted here? It sounds like you're trying to.
I suppose I'm trying. I'm not very good at it, I don't think.
Is that something your relic can help you with? It looks like no.
It is not.
Go ahead and roll to comfort the afflicted, Sister Mary Lazarus.
So I got a 9, but that's minus something probably, charity, or plus charity. But in my case, that's a minus, so it's an 8.
Okay, I like it because
I never roll this well. That's the power of Jesus.
Yeah, when you comfort the afflicted, on a hit, the afflicted person is calmed or reassured. But on 7 through 9, they can ask you a question, which you must answer honestly. So
fine. I have no secrets.
Yeah, I think that Sister Mary Alma Roberts just kind of like with like audible effort, kind of opens her mouth again to ask, Sister Mary Lazarus.
Yes, that's me.
Are you willing to save him?
I suppose that depends who him is, doesn't it?
She like points again at what's now just the stack of papers that you've collected.
Are you asking me if I'm willing to save Father Danzus, the one who's doing the devil's work here, your own artwork?
She looks at you. She doesn't say anything else, but her eyes confirm that yes, that's what she's asking. What's your honest answer?
Well, I believe anyone who can be saved should. So if it's possible to save Father Danzus, and I assume that would mean foiling the devil's plans for him and returning him to the straight and narrow path of a godly man, I'm absolutely willing to save him. I don't know if it's possible, though. That is my honest answer. And if it is not, we must rid the world of the devil wherever we find
Sister Mary Alma Roberts like grabs your face with her hand, and it's like definitely like uncomfortable. Like there's more like force to it than you expected in this small nun's body. And she like croaks at you. All things are possible.
Saints
Sacrifice.
preserve us.
And then she like her eyes roll back in her head and she faints and falls back into the chair.
Good heavens. Sister Mary Alma Roberts always is so dramatic.
All right,
I'm going to carry her to the bed. And
that makes sense.
And take the papers and head off towards Mother Mary Immaculate.
Yeah.
As I assume you're fading out the scene, but that's
that makes sense as where you're headed next. I believe it. I think that honestly we'll probably pick up in Mother Mary Immaculate's office with all three of our player characters, as well as Inspector Flanagan, because as the scene, I think probably whatever the like time relationship was between the two scenes we saw, it's such that Sister Pauline and Sister Catherine can be there with the police inspector, at the Mother Superior's office, like at the moment that Sister Mary Lazarus comes walking in with her stack of papers and her story about Sister Mary Alma Roberts. So I think in like the moment before, the police inspector is saying like, I know it's a bit unusual, Mother, but it turns out your sisters were some of the only people that frequently saw Miss Walker, so we really are going to need to talk to them in order to like resolve this as quickly as possible and find what's happened to Miss Walker. I need to be able to use one of the rooms here for these interviews, and like Sister Mother Mary Immaculate is saying absolutely not. That's I've never heard of something like this. I'm sorry, Inspector. I really want to do right by all the people we serve, but that can't mean violating the sanctity of this space. And like that's right when Sister Mary Lazarus walks in, I think. Sister Mary Lazarus, you look around, you see Sister Pauline, Sister Catherine, Mother Mary Immaculate, and the police officer. What do you do?
Yeah, and I think you smell a cigarette on my breath because I bummed one from Inspector Flanagan.
Beautiful detail.
I think I start to address Mother Mary Immaculate. Like, Mother Mary, has someone been smoking in the convent? Don't try to hide it from me. I have very keen senses.
Sister Catherine, do you say anything?
No, not in the convent.
been hanging out with Sister Pauline too much.
Ooh.
We'll have to speak later. There's more discussion to be had. Who's this
Wait.
fellow here in the convent?
Say this out loud. I have to resist temptation.
What temptation are you resisting, Sister Pauline?
Oh, something between talking back and hitting her.
Sister Mary Lazarus. All right. So your temptation is towards wrath.
What kind of nun are you that you would hit another nun?
What kind of nun are you that
Even-
you're talking smack about all of us constantly?
You were smoking.
All right.
You're a nun.
Let's find out if any of this is said out loud, depending on how this resist temptation roll goes. Claire, please roll that. You roll minus your tribulation, though I think you don't have any at the moment.
So I got a 7.
All right. When you have a 7 on resisting temptation, rather, you will mark your mystery track because that's a hit.
Okay.
But there's still a consequence here. You have to either instruct a sister to misguided action, betokening a lack of hope or charity. Your faith is tested, mark 2 tribulation, or you give up, give away, or give over something important. Sister Pauline, what do you do?
It's too early in the game. I am still like reasonably able to. I'm just sucking it up. So I'm taking 2 tribulation.
Oh, wow. So tell us kind of what we see or just what Sister Pauline herself thinks, right? That kind of like makes clear that, this costs her something to get through this temptation without more, outward action.
She thinks that, out in the world, her husband was slandered in ways not unlike this, but by like sleazy journalists. And here she is putting up with this by theoretically one of the pillars of the convent. But it's fine. We will take it. It's fine.
Does she have like her hands on the back of like a kind of leather lined chair, and like we the audience like see her fingers digging into it as this is happening? Or
I was thinking that she's almost piercing the skin of her own the palm of her hand.
Oh yeah, she's just holding her own like fist so tightly there. Yeah.
However, she is grateful that Sister Mary Lazarus kind of plowed through and did not like need to discover that it was Sister Catherine, because I presume that I like was around or like had enough data to piece together that she bummed a cigarette. I super don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you totally saw me bumming a cigarette from the inspector. It's like we were. I mean, we were at the house. We were looking out. We were looking at the yard, looking for evidence, and I was talking to him while he was like assessing the scene.
Yeah, I buy it. So Mother Mary Immaculate, like takes in the new arrival, and she says, "Sister Mary Lazarus, I'm so sorry, but this is a confidential matter, and it should be resolved momentarily without the need for anyone further in the convent to be involved. If you'd excuse us, please." What do you do, Sister Mary Lazarus?
I'd like to say back to Mother Mary Immaculate that if anyone should be here, it probably shouldn't be these, like cigarette smoking, knowledgeless, secular world nuns. I'm the sub-purpose of I should be involved in important matters involving the convent.
Sounds like you're leveraging your authority to instruct the ignorant.
Who's the ignorant in this situation, Mother Superior?
Yeah, I mean, you're like reminding her of your office and kind of contradicting the request she just made. So please roll to instruct the ignorant, Sister Mary Lazarus. Unless you want to tell a little parable to roll with +1 on this, but you can also just
Oh, I'm fine. And I got a natural 10, and I have a 2 in faith. So that's a 12.
Okay. That's a big hit for you. Yeah. I think Mother Mary Lazarus Mother Mary Immaculate looks around and she says, "I'm sorry, Inspector. Sister Mary Lazarus is right. This is no place for you. Please excuse us. I'm going to speak to my sisters." And the police inspector kind of like raises a bushy eyebrow, and looks at you, Sister Catherine, and kind of as he's walking out, kind of like mumbles under his breath, like in the hopes that no one else hears, but definitely all the players hear it. He's like, "Stuffy old birds here, huh? Look, I'll do what I can." All right.
I think I jump up and I say, I'll show the inspector to the garden.
And kind of like hastily kind of move him out before he can cause any problems with what's going on here.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm just trying to save face for the convent, because police inspectors aren't used to being told what to do.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, so we'll say you're able to bring him out. Sister Pauline, you haven't been instructed one way or another. Where do you stay here? Do you go with Sister Catherine? What do you do?
Oh, sorry. Unless she gave me some sort of signal to follow her, I'm gonna presume that she wants a moment with her old friend.
All right. Then are you hanging out in the kind of Mother Superior's office?
I took a vow of obedience. I'm gonna wait till I'm dismissed. I mean,
I like it
in this particular circumstance where it's convenient, but
I like it. Mother Mary Immaculate looks between the two of you. She sighs. She says, I can't believe everything's happening at once this Halloween. Sister Mary Lazarus, please, what brings you here? And then I promise I will explain what is going on.
I don't really feel like discussing it in front of other sisters. I'd rather have a private conversation with just you, Mother Mary Immaculate.
Mother Mary looks at Sister Pauline. She's like, Sister Pauline is our bookkeeper, Sister Mary Lazarus. It is important that all three of us stay apprised of the status of our convent of Our Lady of Sorrows and the whole of the Order of the Servants of the Lamb, of course.
I suppose the whole of the servants of the sacred mystic Lamb of God are better served when we're all here, if you say so. In any case,
rolls her eyes, but tries to be subtle about it.
You are impertinent.
I want you, Sister Pauline, to take up your cross as you have this moment of attempting to covertly express your disdain. And
this is specifically about the name of the order.
Yep.
Oh right, this is not a roll.
Yeah. This is just a choice. Do you stumble and give your opposition an opportunity, marking your mystery track, or do you press on despite the inner turmoil and marked tribulation?
I think I'll take it as we started to play it. You can notice it.
That's great. Yeah. So in that case, the stumble is that your disdain is visible, and I'm gonna say you can mark your mystery track for that. So Mother Mary looks to you, Sister Mary Lazarus. He's like, "What do you have there?" And reaches to take the pages from you that you collected from Sister Mary.
Let me show you. It's been a complicated situation, and this impertinent. She does. Why would you want someone in the convent who rolls their eyes at the name of our order? What is this? If I had more
Sister
time,
Mary Lazarus.
If I had more time, I would tell you, but more about her. But I just came from silent prayer time. Only it wasn't silent. Not at all. Because right in the room next to me, which I've asked to be transferred several times, I wish to remind you, was Sister Mary Alma Roberts having one of her fits. And we all know how her fits go. They're very noisy and typically rather incoherent. But this one, it had me a bit more concerned than most. And if nothing else, very irritated. I went over to confront her to let her know that I was in the middle of the shame part of my praying cycle, and it was being interrupted. And when I went in her door, do you know what happened?
I couldn't possibly guess, Sister Mary Lazarus.
No, you couldn't, because that's how abnormal it was. I opened the door and a swarm of bats flew out.
A swarm.
Almost knocked me off my feet.
Sister Mary Lazarus, we haven't seen a bat here for a decade. This is we had
my
the
point.
Exterminators in, and the whole belfry was cleaned out.
You are absolutely correct, which is why I am concerned. There was a swarm of bats, a bat swarm, if you will. They almost knocked me off my feet, and I had been hearing before I went in the door that whatever other incoherent thing she was yelling, there was something about a bat and the need to address the bat and the sisters, and it was those two things over and over again. And when I went in, she was sitting with her hind end in the chair and her front slumped over on the floor, very improper. And when I tried to figure out what was going on, all I saw was her pointing at her desk, and there was this stack of papers that you keep trying to take from me before I can explain them. Please stop doing that. It's rude. And
yeah, Sister Mary Immaculate cuts in. She's like, "Oh, Sister Mary Lazarus, I'm so sorry, but it sounds like you experienced a brief moment of confusion, hallucination, even. Sister Pauline, will you escort Sister Mary Lazarus to Sister Martha at the infirmary just to make sure that someone checks up on you, Sister Mary Lazarus? We can't. You're such an asset to this convent. We can't afford to not check in on this sort of thing. And Sister Pauline, have Sister Martha then go and check on Sister Mary Alma Roberts as well. It sounds like that might be needed.
Okay, so first of all, keep your hands off me, you young harlot. Second of all,
Pauline, what do you do?
I take a very deep breath and let her continue talking.
Yeah, Mother Mary Immaculate says, Sister Pauline, please, Sister Mary Lazarus is in some distress, and I think the infirmary would do her the best.
I would like to either speak in parables, take up my cross, or work wonders. Whichever thing is the appropriate action. But I'm not going to leave this room until she's seen the papers laid out like I need to.
I'd love to see speak in parables happen, possibly as our like concluding image of tonight's session. So,
for heaven's sake,
tell us a parable, Sister Mary Lazarus.
Okay, quick brief out of character question. Is there a very specific format to these kinds of parables, or are they just like little stories that illustrate things?
No. So there's parables of Jesus, right? But like anything that's a story that illustrates a point counts as a
Like
parable.
the Good Samaritan thing would be like
Good
a
Samaritan is a famous
parable.
parable, yeah.
Great. Okay, just making sure I had the terminology correct. So, you know, Father Lanigan back in the orphanage used to tell a story of a blind man who kept trying to come into his church and tell them what he'd seen. And they turned him away time after time after time. And the church burned down 1 year from the day that they finally turned him away. And years later, they found drawings that somehow the blind man had made of the church in flames, for he saw not with the eyes of man, but with the eyes of God. Ignore these things at your peril.
And as you do this, are you laying out the like drawings on the desk so that Sister Mary Immaculate can see what you saw in Sister Mary Alma Roberts' cell?
Yes, and I'm conspicuously placing my body in between Sister Pauline and the papers so she can't get in the way.
Meanwhile, Sister Mary Lazarus doesn't know this, but I was planning to be like, all right, Mother doesn't believe you, but I do. Like, tell me the whole spiel and I'll see what I can do.
Beautiful.
But yes, I can't see the papers.
You can't get to them. I think you can see them. I'm like a shriveled old husk of a woman.
Right.
You just can't take
resolute,
them away.
but she also is shriveled.
That's true.
Sister Mary Lazarus, please roll to instruct the ignorant with, I believe, a +1 from your parable.
All right. Ooh, that's not good. Hold on. 4, 5, 6, 7
Nice.
with everything.
Okay, good. Instruct the ignorant. Yeah, with a 7, they may do it, but choose one. How they do it undercuts your authority, or they require something from you first. And you're basically what you're instructing her to do is to take seriously that there's some kind of threat, right? Kind of presented by the drawings you've laid out. Is that accurate?
Yes, I'd like her to at least look at them and consider them before sending me away.
That's great. I think she looks down, and then like does a double take looking down at them. She's like, "Oh, I see," and like kind of like places her hand on it. She's like, bats again. I
didn't draw this. These were scattered all over Sister Mary Alma Roberts' desk, the one that she was pointing at after the swarm of bats and all of the yelling.
I will look
Didn't
this over.
you hear the yelling?
But Sister Mary Lazarus, I need you, for my own peace of mind, I need you to go and make a visit to the infirmary. Just to check. You understand?
What's the infirmary going to do about me thinking about, but even if I were wrong, like, the nurse in the infirmary does nothing. We all know this.
Sister Martha is a very devoted servant of this convent.
I have no complaints about her devotion to the convent, but she's not exactly a psychiatrist, and you seem to be implying that I'm insane, even though I've brought you direct evidence of a thing that I just saw. I will go to the infirmary if you require it of me, but I implore you to look at these drawings. You might recognize someone behind the bars surrounded by bats.
While they're negotiating, may I discern situations or spirits as I'm looking at the drawings?
Yeah, taking a close look. Yes, but then we're going to be I'm cognizant of the time, so we'll be wrapping up the session basically right after that. But I'll give you this discern, and please remind me of the +1 forward come next session.
Great. That's an 8. So I I think I'm thinking the same thing. What's going on under the surface?
Beautiful. I think looking at, I think something about the like loosely sketched, picture of Father Danzas in Sister Mary Alma Roberts' hand triggers your memory of that scrap of newspaper you picked up at Miss Walker's house, because like the pictures under that headline was the courtroom sketch of the man convicted as the All Hallows killer, and like there's a clear family resemblance.
Ooh.
So I think like as that realization dawns on Sister Pauline, the camera pulls away. We see Sister Catherine walking down the hall with Inspector Flanagan, and then like walking towards them, like humming a Beatles song as he approaches is Father Danzas, who just like gives the most like charming, disarming smile, and the like police inspector like gives him a nod. He's like, Father, but like Sister Catherine, like something causes you also to like suddenly stop in the hallway and like take another look at Father Danzas.
Okay.
And I'm going to call that a session.
Okay.
Thank you all for playing Autumn Triduum tonight. I'm excited to play to find out more of what's going on at this convent. We'll have time, I think, to conclude All Hallows Eve and go through the other days of this game when we reconvene next week. Thank you also to anyone listening. Once again, we are playing under the auspices of the Gauntlet community. You can find them at www.gauntlet-rpg.com. And the game we've been playing tonight is a playtest of Autumn Triduum. Find out more about Autumn Triduum by going to bit.ly/Autumn Triduum list, capital Autumn, capital Triduum, capital list. I've been Alexi Sargent, and thank you all for joining us for this Halloween.